Great DIY RV and home camper's life. Got the cell phone camera going on right here. You can see the camera system in the back. We're pointing at the toilet. That's right, we got some toilet repair to do today. Well, about a week ago, or a little bit over a week ago, occasionally the toilet would just flush on itself. Came in, kind of looked to see what was going on, and it quit. It started working just fine. Then it started doing it again. Now it's doing it even worse. So it's time to get in there and correct it and fix it the right way. So I already know what's going on. I'm going to show you guys what I found and what we're going to do to correct it. So I'm going to swing around. I'm going to swap over to my other camera, and we're going to get this video going. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off. Set it down so we don't get it broke. Alright, this is just going to be a basic overview of what is in here besides the lovely stuff that builds up on the side of the toilets. We've got our fill valve. You got your flush handle, of course. You've got your fill tube. You got an overflow, so the water comes up to a certain point. If it gets too high, it'll overflow. Down, down, down is a bobber, or excuse me, is a stopper that keeps the water in the tank, and when you flush, it raises up and allows all that water to drop into the toilet to flush. I'm going to be quiet for a second. I'm going to see if I can turn the volume up so you can hear what is going on. Okay, so hopefully you were able to hear the drips of water. What is happening is the water is actually going past the ball that's down here. I'm going to go ahead and shut the water off at the shut off right below the tank. I'm going to bring on the other camera so I can show you. So I had mine just partially on, so I've got it all the way turned off. So now when I flush the toilet, it's not going to refill, because we need to empty the toilet anyways, because we're going to have to remove the bowl, or the tank, excuse me, to do the repair. So just raise it up. As you can see, the stopper does raise up. And once it gets to a certain spot, it's going to drop back down, and it's supposed to seal back up. Well, that's what's happening, is not sealing. So let me go ahead and pull this off. Lovely. Look at that nastiness on there. Anyways, it's having the ability to leak just past that a little bit. We're going to replace all this, so let's just get that out of the way for a second. Now to go ahead and replace all this, we've actually got to take the tank off. And down here, hopefully, get you moved a little bit. Right down here, there is going to be two bolts that go through the tank and attach to the bowl itself. We got to undo those. Now, pair of channel locks are just going to be just fine. That's all the tools you're really going to need to do this job. Okay, but we got to get the rest of this water out. We've got about an inch of water still in there. So, a couple ways to do it. At least we want to get as much water out as possible. Okay. That way when we do move the tank around, it's not going to get water all over the place. As you see, I'm just taking a sponge. That won't take too awful long. You can use a vacuum cleaner that is a wet dry vac. But when you do get ready to take those bolts off, go ahead and get some towels and put some towels down around the toilet, because you are going to get a little bit of water. There's just no way around that. So I'm going to continue getting the rest of the water out as much as I can, and then I'll bring you back, and then we'll go to disconnecting the supply line and also getting the bolts. We'll get that off, and then we'll get this set up in a position where we can repair it, replace it, and get all this stuff repaired. All right, so I've got to move the camera, so I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, this is going to be extremely difficult for me to video and actually get these loose, but I'm going to go ahead and take this off, and I was able to loosen that up by hand. It does not need to be extremely tight. So we've got that off, and see there's a little bit of water comes out, but there is a rubber seal in there. Next, I've got one on either side of the bowl. I've got a nut here that's attached to that bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off. And once I get those loose, I am definitely going to get more water on the floor because there is still just a little bit in the tank. But I'll come back after I get these off. And again, I'm just going to use channel locks to get those loose. All right, I'll be back with you in a second. Well, came into a little bit of an issue. The bolt is spinning. The flathead on top, you can't really see, is no bueno, no good. I can't get a screwdriver or anything to stay on it. So, my toilet, there's a separation between the tank and the bowl, and you can actually see the bolt in there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, so what I'm going to be able to do is take a hacksaw and go in there, and I'm just taking the blade itself. I'm going in and I can cut those bolts so that I can get the tank off. I'll come back when I get that done. Alright, after some persistence, flat blade screwdriver, channel locks, crescent, and a hacksaw blade. I showed you that just a second ago, how I was cutting in there. I was able to get the bolts cut and removed. So let me go ahead and lay a towel here. We're going to go ahead and pull the tank off and up. We can lay it down. Alright, now that we've got the tank off, it's just a matter of going ahead and removing everything from inside the handle, because this Fluidmaster all-in-one kit comes with a new handle too. So we're going to get that. I'll show you. There's basically a seal that goes between the tank and the toilet. We need to replace that also. So let's go ahead and just kind of flip this up. Try to get this so you can see. Right here is a nut for the handle. That nut is reversed. So normally you want to go righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This one is opposite, so you want to go right to loosen it. And it'll come completely out. Just get that on the ground. Let's see, right here is nut for the fill. That one. Get that pulled out. So there's that part. I'm going to throw that in the bathtub because that's a place I can clean up afterwards. Reach in, there's the rest of that one bolt that I had to cut. Get that out of there. So the nut here, I'm going to go get a bigger pair of channel locks to break that loose. Alright, so here's mine. Go ahead and loosen that up and we'll get that out. There it is. Final piece. that over there. Now I'm going to take a second, I'm going to clean this out a little bit, scrub it down, clean up the wall back here, as you can see, where you couldn't get to, dust bunnies and stuff accumulated. Let me get all that stuff cleaned back up, and I'll come right back and we'll start assembling this thing. Alright, so we've got everything pretty well cleaned up. As we go, we'll do the final cleaning and stuff. But here's our kit that we picked up. Picked it up from the big box. Let's get rolling. So now we've got the seal between the tank and the toilet base set in place. Before you install your overflow tube and stopper assembly into the tank, you need to cut this pipe down to where it's 1 inch below the hole of your flush valve opening right there. So I've already taken the liberty of doing the measurement, and it, for me, 9 inches. I've got a little mark that I used a hacksaw to scribe on. I'm just going to take that blade that I had in my hand, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut it like this. And just that easy. You can take the blade, kind of clean it up, get rid of the dingleberries. There we go. Now we can go ahead and install this into the tank, and we make sure we want to make the overflow tube is to the back of the tank. Go ahead and set that right there, and we see that it's facing the back of the tank. Go ahead and put the nut on. Make sure it's still facing the back. Take my big channel locks and just snug it. It doesn't need to be super tight, because there's a seal, there's a gasket inside that's sealing, plus you're going to have this to help seal too. Alright, so we've got our bolt, we've got a rubber gasket, goes on, and then we place that one into the, all through the tank, get in place. Next, we have got a stainless steel washer that will go on. That's per the instructions. Right here, we've got our bolt, rubber gasket, we've got the tank, and we've got the stainless steel washer and a thin nut that we need to put on. There's that thin nut as compared to the standard nut. You can see the difference. So we take that thin nut, and this is going to help to lock that bolt in place. So when we do have to take it off again, it doesn't spin like it did on me. Yeah, so you don't have to use the sawzall, or excuse me, hacksaw blade to get it removed. So I'm going to get these put on real quick. I'll bring you back when I get ready to set it on to the tank. So now I'm just getting these snugged up. The rubber washer is to help seal the top. We want to get that nut fairly tight to where when, and if we ever have to separate this bolt again, we don't have to fight it like I did this last time. So, there's those. Next thing to do is go ahead and set it on back in place. Real nice and easy. There we go. Then it's two the rubber washers. And then the stainless steel washers. And then, let's get these in a frame for you. So, the 2 rubber, the 2 stainless, and then the 2 nuts. And we'll get that tank tightened up and in place. So now the bolt is secured back to the toilet. I've got it to where it's not shaking around, moving around, just snug enough so that doesn't happen. Don't go too tight because you can actually break the porcelain. We don't want to do that. So I might have gone different steps than what the manual says, but this is how I'm doing it. Tank's in place. Now I can go ahead and grab my fill valve. Before you put that down, you need to go ahead and get that on there. And that's your gasket to seal. Whoop, there's your gasket right there. That'll seal the tank to the valve. And then we need to size this to our tank and what we did with the overflow. So we can set this in a tank, and we want the top of the fill 3 inches over the top of our overflow. Top of our overflow is at 8.5 inches. Right around 8.5 inches. So 8, 8.5, 9.5, 10, 11.5 inches, which is, I'm gonna take it up just a little bit more. And all you have to do is just take and twist the pipe and it'll extend it or retract it. Let's set it back in place. And keep going just a little bit more. And okay, I know you can't see it, but 11.5 inches it is. So with that in place, you see the position I'm putting it in. I'm going to go ahead and take the nut. It's got 2 ears on it, so it doesn't need to be wrenched on. It's finger tight on. Go ahead and tighten that up to the bottom of the tank, and we'll get that snugged in. Now, if you don't have the greatest grip, if there is, you do need to add a little use of pliers or something like that. Just take it easy when you do it. You don't want to go too tight because then you risk the chance of damaging the stuff, breaking. That's it. I just went a quarter turn over what I couldn't do with my wrists. Now, let's grab some of our other stuff. We have a fancy dancy, looks like way that we can increase or decrease how fast the water comes out. Right here we have a clamp on both sides. I'm just going to leave it all the way open just in case I don't need it. So these are just plastic, but you just grab and just kind of press it together and that'll expand it. So let's go ahead and push that. Ooh. That'll slide. There we go. That works. So what we can do is just push that onto the end of the fill. Squeeze those together and just kind of rock them back and forth, and it go right over the top. That'll help keep it in place. We now have our clip that keeps it, the fill tube in the proper position. So we can put that on right there. let's go ahead and put the clamp on. Yeah, good chance I'm gonna, oh no, that ought to be fine. I was gonna say, if need be, I could go ahead and cut that just a little bit. Our handle, again, reverse threads. And this has got multiple spots where you can hook this up. And if need be, you can actually cut to shorten it up too. So we'll put this in. So there's my old one, and I actually kind of like my old one. I think it looks a little bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. See, I still like that. I like that. I like the white better than the chrome. So we're just gonna do it that way. There we go. Go ahead and pull our chain. And we'll adjust our height. All right, final step, and I know you're not going to see it, but I've got to rehook up the supply line. And that is generally the same size. I don't think I've ever seen one that's not. So, as long as the pipes, the supply hose is good and everything like that, go ahead and you can reuse it or you can buy a new one. I've got that nice and snug. Now, what we can do is slowly turn the water on. Kind of look for anything that's going to be going crazy. Now let's go ahead and open her up. We're going to watch it fill up. We're running our hands around the bottom of the bowl. I know you can't see that. Well, you can almost see it. Running my hands around the bottom of the bowl. I'm trying to see if I can feel any water leaking anywhere. We're going to let this fill up. While it's filling up, looks like we have some adjustments. So this adjustment right here is if the had to turn it just a little bit so it makes sure it cleared. So your adjustment right here will adjust when your water shuts off. You can turn it basically clockwise to raise that float, make the tank fill full of more water. Go counterclockwise and it'll drop that float down to where it's less water. So we're real close to the actual water line that used to run high. You can see that black mark line, about an inch below that is where it, they say high water. So what I can do is I can just turn that a little bit and we'll let that sit. We'll flush it again and we'll see. The other thing is so on this unit right here on the flapper itself, there's a dial that you can turn this whole unit one way or the other. There's a maximum and max water flow flushed, minimum for less water. So that would mean that how much water is left in the bottom of the bowl when it stops. So if you want to make sure that this thing douches and gets that stuff down the pipes, put it more. If you want to try to conserve some water, you can go less. You can slow down the rate of fill right here with this valve. We're going to be quiet for a second and we're going to see if we hear that drip that we heard initially. And no, I'm not hearing that drip anymore, which is a good sign. Very good sign. Go ahead and open this up. Close that back down. Had nasty, dirty water in there. And okay, so it left a couple inches in there, but that was at the max. Let's see where it fills up to. And almost besides cleanup, this project is done. On a DIY scale for a novice, for somebody that's doesn't have any experience plumbing or anything like that, this is not that hard to do. It's relatively easy. If it's not doing that ghost flush like it was doing on mine, and you just have a problem with your the valve itself, the fill valve, that you can replace that by itself. You can actually get just replacement flappers, and we're about a 1/4 inch off of the max full line, so that's really good right there. I'm happy with that. It shut off. I'm not hearing any drips. But getting back to what I was saying is that flapper down there on the bottom, they do have ones that you can buy and put on these. Still replaceable ones if you need be. You can get the tubes, you can get everything in here, even the handles. You can just buy a handle itself to do it. I mean, I've got this one. White looks better for me, so that's where I'm going. So if you got something out of this video, please hit the like button, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out on my new content. And until the next time we meet, have a great day.